What's up, guys? This is Marco Stein, and you're listening to All Elite Podcast.
I'm Mark Quinn. This is Isaiah Cassidy, and we are Private Party.
And you're watching the All Elite Podcast.
This is Luchasaurus, and that's Jungle Boy. And you need to check out All Elite Podcast.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast.
You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
What's up, man? It's the After Machine, this Wolverine, Mr. GMSI himself, and man with the huge ass and arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. You better.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast. As always, I'm your host, All Elite Andy, joined by my two awesome co-hosts, Big Match AJ and Philip Domino. We are fresh off of AEW's All Out pay-per-view, another exciting pay-per-view from AEW. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a good day, good pay-per-view. I'm happy to get into it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good pay-per-view too. It's like a roller coaster. Had some high highs, some low lows. Yeah, a lot of interesting segments to talk about.
Yeah, some like unfortunate situations I think really brought the show down, obviously, and we'll get into that more as we talk about the full show. But I think that really, through the middle of it, drug me down for a minute. And then the rest of the show came together really well, and even the beginning of the show was really good. It was just like probably a half hour, maybe even an hour or so there where it felt really weird. We didn't really know what was going on with Matt Hardy, and there was just some other questionable booking decisions that maybe made us feeling a little off. But overall, it was a good show. It was another fun pay-per-view. They really did deliver. I think most of the matches delivered really well, the ones we expected, and a couple of them that I didn't expect to do so well actually did better than I expected. So we'll go ahead and talk about all those. But let's talk about the buy-in real quick. Joey Janela beats Serpentico in about 8 minutes. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Was there much you guys even feel we should reference besides Janela picking up a victory?
Dude, I wasn't paying attention. I got the time off of 411. I'm so sorry.
Fake fan, bro. I don't blame you too much because this didn't have like any real reason. I thought this was a weird one to put on the pre-show because Tony Khan spent his little presser before the show talking about how the buy-in is supposed to be a show that pushes people to buy the actual pay-per-view based upon the matches. And it's not to say either of these matches were bad, but they don't really feature the talent you expect to push someone to buy the main show. And so I did think it was interesting. They kind of went with a traditional pre-show at the end of the day, which then devalues the pre-show, something they tried to bring value to. That's my biggest takeaway from it. Another takeaway, it seemed like they're kind of like, it was good for Janela to get a win after last week, but this went a decent amount of time. Like, Joey is very much like the bottom tier of the roster, who I wouldn't call enhancement talent, but he kind of is at the end of the day.
One step above
It
that,
borders,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And that's mainly my like biggest takeaway from that one. Private Party defeating Alex Reynolds and John Silver. This one was the one that I didn't have a whole lot of attention to. I care about Private Party to an extent, but they've really lost a lot of their buzz for me personally, at least. And Reynolds and Silver, Phil, you really like John Silver, right? Or is it Alex Reynolds?
Hey, man, I'll say this. Those two members of the Dark Order don't really get a lot of shine because people see them, they're named after numbers. You kind of tune them out when you see them. You just expect them to lose. I feel like every time I watch them, the first 5-6 minutes of their matches are just kind of like run-of-the-mill wrestling, and then they like turn it up a notch. Again, here, it was like your standard wrestling match, standard pre-show match. They're not going too hard. They're not going all out. Pun not intended. But then, like, the last 3 minutes, they start busting out, like, the best they have to offer, and it was actually really good. John Silver especially, again, looked really good today.
I like John Silver, too. I agree with you. And I did catch more of this one than I did the first, because after I realized I didn't time the first one, I was like, oh, shit, I got to watch the pay-per-view.
The first one was totally fine. It was, like, not offensively bad or boring. It was actually a pretty decent match for it being 8 minutes long. But maybe that was just me being excited to watch wrestling after a long day.
Yeah, but it was good. I actually really liked the tag match. I thought they did good. I thought Private Party and Alex Reynolds and John Silver both looked good. And I thought, good win for Private Party, gives them another notch on the record. Maybe they can get some steam again. Like Andrew said, they haven't been doing anything, so maybe this is the right position to put them in.
Yeah, they definitely needed a victory here. A loss here would do nothing for them. Actually, kind of help Reynolds and Silver quite a bit because if you compare these two teams, like Private Party should be on sort of another level than these guys. But it was a decent match, and I'm glad that again Private Party got the victory here. I was almost wondering if Reynolds and Silver would win, and this was going to be an all Dark Order night. Obviously, that was not the case as the night continued on. But yeah, this definitely wasn't. It wasn't the case for this match either. It was fine though, a decent pre-show. But again, these aren't matches that are pushing me to buy the product. I mentioned this in our group chat. I would have liked to see Janela get a chance to do his Cracker Barrel hardcore style match. They did have quite a few specialty matches on this show, so I understand not putting another one on there. But he thrives in that type of situation, and with this being a big show, and you want to put something really cool on the buy-in, I think that would have been a better route to go. But nonetheless, a decent enough pre-show, nothing offensive about it. They did a good job hyping up the show, and then we opened the show with Big Swole versus Britt Baker. We talked about how this was going to be a cinematic match. It went 6.5 minutes. It was definitely cinematic. It was kind of more, it felt to me like a comedy-style cinematic match because there was so much like humor to it. It was kind of like a funny fight in a movie. But I didn't take away too much negatives from it. What'd you guys think?
Someone on the last podcast mentioned Booker T and Stone Cold in the grocery store. Yeah, this was not as good as that, like I would have predicted. But you're right. In the same vein, it's kind of like that, where it's just ridiculous, over the top, silly nonsense. Novocaine in the leg. It was not good. I'm pretty sure Britt Baker was still injured. It was weird. I didn't like it, and I'm glad it was short.
Yeah, I wondered why they originally wanted to do this on the pre-show after 3-4 months of building it up, and I guess this is why. It was short. I thought it felt short, even though I'm thankful it was as short as it was, because like AJ said, it was not particularly good in any way. Acting, wrestling, none of it was really good. There was no real memorable moments aside from the needle spot, which was pretty gross, man. I did not do well.
That was my favorite part.
Well, of course it was. It's the only part that was memorable. I mean, what other memorable? Reba getting thrown in the dumpster and showing up with a banana peel in her head.
That was good to you.
That was hokey.
It was all primarily.
The whole thing was
yeah,
hokey.
That's what I was gonna say. It was all primarily hokey, primarily comedic. But at the end of the day, it was still okay. You're definitely right. It wasn't Stone Cold versus Booker T in terms of that level of comedy, but it did its purpose in being a comedy match. It wasn't supposed to be the best match on the card or anything like that. I probably liked it a little bit more than you guys, but I didn't have a whole lot of hope or expectation for that one really at all going into it.
That's true.
That's fair.
Right, true. Do you think this feud is over?
I hope.
I hope. Yeah.
Probably not. My opinion is probably not.
Yeah, I imagine Britt will want to get some type of revenge. Britt felt like at one point was going to be the ace of this women's division. At this point, that feels like it would be a horrible decision. You're saying I'm wrong that she was going to be, or
no. We were wrong in thinking that like a year ago
at the very beginning, she was kind of the person, and I'm almost wondering if she's like one injury away from saying, I'd kind of just rather be a dentist. Like it's just much easier, much safer. I'll have much more longevity in this career. I could make more money. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't think that's fair.
I'm not saying it because of. I'm saying like from a personal stance as a person. How many times do you have this happen where you're finally like, it just makes more sense to do? And so I'm not saying that she's not strong or that because it's like she's one injury away from not being able to compete again. I'm just saying like personally, she might make that decision because she still has a husband who wrestles, so you can get into that world of wrestling very simply, like go to a show, whatever, and still do your thing in being a dentist. So I just wonder if she happens to make that decision, because she's suffered at least 2 pretty serious injuries within AEW since the company started. So, and they've both set her back. They've set back her momentum, and who knows, you know? So I don't know. This was just a fine opener. It was a decent cinematic style match, but yeah, nothing too crazy. We follow that up with the Young Bucks beating Jurassic Express in about 15 minutes. This was actually a really good match. I thought this was a really fun, good tag team match. The Young Bucks looked great. They were playing pretty heel in this match, as they have been lately. So, Phil, I know you liked that. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought this was really good. It was one of those matches that you were talking about earlier that you weren't really looking forward to it, but once it was there and they were telling the story in the ring, it was real good. It was probably one of the better matches of the night in terms of like in-ring product. They did fool me. Thought Jurassic Express might win. They did, and it was pretty obvious, going into it. But that's what good matches do. It makes you suspend your disbelief for a second.
Yeah.
They worked over Jungle Boy. I thought Jungle Boy looked good. He was beat up for a lot of this match, but he also, when he got offense in, looked pretty good doing it. Luchasaurus also did not look horrible. The ending kind of confused me because he does the big dive to the outside, and then 2 seconds later, the Bucks are hitting the finishing tag move on Jungle Boy. So I don't know if he missed and just jumped into a bunch of people in the crowd, or he hit it, but whatever brother
weird.
got hit with the move.
Right, I remember that now.
Covered, that confused me. I thought I missed something. I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, AJ, what do you think?
I thought it was solid, man. Like way better than I thought it was going to be. I was way more interested in it, by the middle of the match than I ever thought I was going to be, because I really didn't think I was going to care about this at all. I thought obvious Young Bucks win. And, unlike Phil, I really didn't have a moment where I was like, oh, man, maybe Jurassic Express is going to do it. I really did think, there's no way. They're setting up Young Bucks and FTR. That was my mindset this whole pay-per-view.
I don't even know how they're going to go to that route at this point.
I don't either at this point, but
very much
at the time, I mean, I was like, it's going to be the Young Bucks and FTR. Now I don't know, but anyways, it was definitely a good match, work rate wise, like you said, really good. Everybody really brought it. Jungle Boy looked like $1 million, which is really what you want to see happening with the Jurassic Express, anyways, because I mean, the end game with Jurassic Express is not to get this tag team over; it's to get Jungle Boy over.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree that it's weird. How are we going to get to the Young Bucks versus FTR when both teams are kind of playing these more heelish type characters? But at the same time, you could do that. I mean, it's not impossible. They both are very cocky teams, and so it's not impossible. And I do love. And especially with rankings, it's not too hard to just say they're the number one contenders and do that match. It's very simple in that retrospect.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Express, I thought they looked good. This was a decent match. There's not really a whole lot to say in terms of it being bad. I was really surprised, kind of, because while I was interested in this one, I didn't think they were going to go as heel in nature as they did, or aggressive, I guess you might say. But they did, and that's something I really did enjoy.
You know what? Yeah. I will say that this is the first time I ever saw Marco Stunt get beat up, and I felt bad for him. Usually he's getting beat up by somebody I like. This was kind of like he was getting beat up by these skinny, nerdy kids who, I already kind of don't like them to begin with. And it seemed like they really were embracing that role today, which I think is the right role for them. And, it drives me crazy with AEW because later on in the show, they seem like good guys in the segment with Kenny after the tag match. They seem like they're going to be good guys again, and I would just rather stick to one thing. I appreciate the whole everybody's a unique tweener
It is. There are some levels to it, though. You know what I mean? There are some layers to it.
I wish they would do. I wish they would.
So
it would be better.
We'll get to that. We'll talk to that point a little bit more. We got a really good casino battle royale. I'm not going to lie. In terms of the casino battle royale format,
the best one we've had for sure.
We have seen some issues. I really like this.
Well, yeah, but
low bar.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a low bar, but the match was pretty good. I don't think that the finish was necessarily the best. I think that might have been something that threw me off. But other than that, Archer winning, everyone kind of, Matt Seidel's shooting star press. I'm very glad he's safe. I'm very glad he didn't injure himself. If he had injured himself, it would not be something that I could consider funny. But the fact that he got up, he continued to wrestle the match, I can find humor in the fact that he slipped on the turnbuckle. It's unfortunate, but it's something that happened. You know what I mean? You guys actually both missed it, didn't you? It was so quick and sudden.
I was petting my cat, which is embarrassing. But yeah, my cat picked that time to walk up to me and start meowing at me. So I was like, okay, here's some affection. I looked up and the whole chat and even commentary is like, oh, you didn't get all that one. Or, oh, the ropes are really slippery. Everybody's really sweaty tonight. It was like, what I missed. And then he showed me the gif of it, and it was like Shockmaster levels.
Yeah, really. That's honestly, that's a great comparison of a debut that was going so well and just fell flat. He can bounce back.
So well
he can still bounce back. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, he'll bounce back.
But this could be, in WWE, this would bury him. Like, this would be the end. Going back...
Well, do you remember the storyline where Christopher Daniels, botched something and they kept bringing it up for some reason?
Please don't do that.
And
oh, yeah.
Could you imagine if that's his character now?
To a point,
they won't
to a
do
point,
that.
one of our viewers, Irish Green 1994, said Matt Sydal, it's the only move he can do, and he fucked it. So he's got a point. It's a fair point. Irish Green did say this was also the best Battle Royal that he's seen this year, and I could kind of agree with that. It was a really fun Battle Royal. Again, they did the best job with this Casino Battle Royale format than they have thus far. Having people come out in fives, but still timed, not as a group of five, felt so much better.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really well done Battle Royale.
I also don't know if they've done this in the past, but they had graphics in the corner saying who came out.
It helped.
At this point, if you watch the show enough, you know who's coming out, but it's really stark contrast to the first Battle Royal where you had Ace Romero, whoever that big fat boy was, come out.
And they have such a...
You're being exposed to his character.
Boy and AC Romero.
They have such a better roster now than at that point in time, too, just in saying Ace Romero.
And they had that one guy who dressed up as Gold
we
Dust.
we almost skipped
Sunny
over
days.
one of mine and your favorite parts of this Battle Royale. What's his name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Will Hobbs.
He had a
Will
very
Hobbs
impressive showing. I was so excited about that. I wish he did more, but I was still very impressed for an enhancement talent being put in this match. I feel like they're making a decision that he's not going to be enhancement as much anymore. I could be wrong.
That would be nice.
It would be nice.
No, I think you're right.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because he very well could have just been Battle Royal enhancement and been made look really good through that. But I would.
He had an elimination. I can't remember who he eliminated.
The Blade.
Eliminated.
The Blade.
Yeah.
So it's still an elimination though. He could get a match with someone in Eddie's little stable there. They could do something with it. But I'm just glad that he got to be involved. Yeah, featured and wasn't just there quick.
Yes,
for sure.
They could have done that. He hits a lot of the things that AEW is lacking. Big face, like a big.
Nice,
we got a lot of
strong
big
face,
bad
yeah.
guys.
And Irish Green
Color.
Green called him
Definitely
Keith Lee
need
Light.
more of those.
Keith Lee Light. I did get that feeling a little bit, but still, he's. I think he's a little younger than Keith Lee, and they're definitely a little different. But I'm glad. I'm glad that we got a new impressive character that wasn't a debut. You know what I mean? It's an enhancement guy. Yes. I thought that was very smart. Like, let's, instead of bringing someone new in, let's build up an enhancement talent in this Battle Royal. And they did a great job at that.
And it makes sense, too, because he's got the unique feel, the unique look. He's definitely got a believable moveset.
Yeah.
I was excited to see him because I watch Dark every now and then, and every time I saw this guy wrestle, I was like, why is this guy in the spot that he is now? You know, you could... Maybe he's green, he is green, he's young, but you could do something with him at this point. You don't want to bury him and have him have an 0-15 record before you decide to do something with him.
So I agree. So there was a lot coming out of this Battle Royal that was good. I did think, again, the finish with Eddie Kingston being afraid of the snake, I felt it felt very reminiscent to something we talk about on here sometimes, where they're afraid to just beat somebody. Like, just let Eddie get tossed over.
Yep.
But at the end of the day,
Eddie looked worse being afraid of a snake than he did.
I thought it was totally
it's sort of, but no.
Totally
Sort of, but no,
over.
AJ, because like thinking about it now, I don't hate it because he didn't get beat. He didn't get dumped over. It wasn't just like a clothesline from Archer. It was a situation that that had to come together. You know what I mean? I liked that. I like it in retrospect. In watching it, I didn't love it, and it still isn't the best thing ever, but I don't hate it as much as I did in watching it. It felt a little clumsy.
I
but
think Eddie would have looked strong just being in the final two,
maybe
though. Like, I think of him losing in the final two, that's fine.
if they battled it out for about 5-10 minutes, yes. If he got dumped in the amount of time that they probably were looking to dump him, then I think this was an okay way to do it. So I do understand, and again, it was kind of hokey, kind of silly, but I don't hate it.
I thought, I had said this in the chat, of all the people that were announced and the two possible winners from the main event, that Kingston versus Moxley seemed like the best option to go. The finish confused me, Archer winning, because it seems like for a while now, for like 2-3 weeks, they've been building up Archer against Cage, and it doesn't seem like that's the direction they're going now. I mean, he could always run in and cost him his title shot, but against Moxley, it doesn't really make any sense to cost him.
I just think
that they're both, like you were saying earlier, they're both heels.
Well, and I also
so
think they're
doesn't make
feeding
much
into
sense
it
anyways.
down the line. Like, that could be a feud that happens down the line, but maybe not right away.
Yeah.
I do think that Archer needed this. I think that this was something that really helped Archer and is going to help Archer, because a feud with Mox is going to do wonders for him. Even if, who knows if he's going to come out on top. I don't necessarily expect it, but you never know. Overall, though, this was a good match. It did a lot to elevate a lot of different people. It brought in a new character in Seidel, who, granted, he got kind of stopped in his tracks. He's a good character to have for TV, and his matches are going to be fun to see, and I'm excited to see where they go with him. We followed this match up with Matt versus Sammy, something I think we were all kind of excited for. The Broken Rules match, we didn't know what to expect, and it turned out to be a real horrible, shitty situation. The match started off pretty decent. They were kind of brawling in the backstage area. It was the stadium fight. And then a situation happened. They're climbing on some lifting device, and Sammy spears Matt off of it. They go through a table. Matt clears the table and bounces his head off the back of the concrete. He's clearly knocked out. They try and continue after this. Matt is stumbling around. Aubrey Edwards does a great job, in my opinion, ending the match, calling it off, throwing up the X. It makes sense. Then it seems like these two want to continue. AEW decides to make the audible. They mentioned that they had Doc Sampson speak with Matt briefly, make sure he's okay to continue, and they went directly to the finish. This match took cumulatively about 6 minutes between after the stoppage and they restarted, and it was a really scary moment. I saw some people on Twitter mention the fact that they were afraid for Matt climbing up that rafter after just stumbling like that, which is something that I didn't even think about until I saw that tweet. Yeah. But yeah, and just so much more than that. I was really worried for Matt in general. Still kind of worried for Matt because they mentioned he had to go to the hospital. Hopefully he's okay. This coming off another concussion he had gotten previously from Sammy throwing a chair into his face. These two now have the makings for a historically interesting feud.
They have a great rivalry, and none of what makes it great was intentional.
No, but the horrible part is, Matt can't even really keep at this rate, at this pace, because of what keeps happening to him in the feud. Like, Matt is too old to be getting concussions at this rate, like this, with kids. I will not be shocked to see Matt take a moment and sort of step back. So I really just...
Well, he should, because he lost the match.
No, he won. Sammy won.
No, he lost. He lost.
Okay.
They screwed Sammy.
I see what you're saying.
Storyline-wise, they screwed Sammy. They threw up the X. Dude, this was so confusing to me because the whole time I was wondering, like, is it real? Is it fake? Because AEW likes to blur the lines of reality a lot. And they know wrestling fans and know what wrestling fans look for when they're trying to do like a fake shoot angle. So the entire time I'm like, is this real? Is this fake? And then Sammy bursts through the door and they start fighting again. And I'm like, oh, it's fake. And then it ends so weirdly and abruptly. It was very obvious that it wasn't fake.
Yeah. I was watching with my cousin, and even he saw the spot and was like, did he really hurt himself? And I was like, I don't know.
Again, I looked away twice this entire pay-per-view and missed the actual spot where he speared him off the scaffolding. So, more confusion for me. I was like, What
And
happened?
it was just such a scary moment. Again, like I said, Matt has careers of ladder matches and concussions and situations that I really just don't want to see this type of shit continue. And it kind of goes for AEW overall. The stunts that they continue to do in some of these situations, they should probably pull it back a little bit, man. These guys, they have been doing stuff like this for a long time. They have not had many bad moments, but that could have been way worse than it was. And that was something I was worried about in the moment. Like, okay, Matt, like, make some moves, get up, Matt, like, do something. And then he gets up and he's stumbling, and I'm like, oh, come on, Matt. Like, so I was really worried. And still, like I said, I am. Like, it sucks. I'm a big Matt Hardy fan. You don't want to see this be a situation where his career is ended. But who knows, man? There's no telling. I hope to see him back in the ring again soon. But I think it could be a while. It probably will be a good while before Matt is really back in wrestling. And we saw a reaction from his wife on Twitter shortly after. Very much freaked out and upset about this situation, which you can't blame her for. And you wonder if AEW handled it the right way. I understand in the moment. I'm not going to critique them and say that it was the bad decision. But I think Aubrey had the right decision. I think you back Aubrey in that.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
you explain that to Matt. You explain it to Sammy. I saw someone on Twitter easily explain Sammy saying he didn't want to end Matt's career in that way, so we do the match again down the line. Like, there's ways to redo the match and not have to stick to that stipulation despite what happened. And
I mean, you could even just call it a no contest.
very easily. I agree with that as well. So I'm just glad that hopefully Matt seems to be okay. He went to the hospital. Hopefully things continue to trend in the right direction. But you do wonder if they made the right decision there. I felt like Aubrey throwing up the X, calling the match was a phenomenal decision. It's something I think Aubrey deserves to be commended for as probably the MVP of this whole pay-per-view event, because it's not a situation that referees, I think, want to do in general. You don't see veteran referees do it enough. And for her, I'm not saying she's new, but she's not necessarily a referee I was familiar with before her tenure in AEW. And
no, she is new. Like she even went on record saying she only did this for like a couple of years before.
Yeah.
Like it's only been like 3 years that she's been doing
and to make
this.
that decision, like, I commend her for it. So, and I wish that they had just sort of backed her on it. I understand them wanting and realize. I realize too that they probably realized, okay, we can get to this finish relatively easy and relatively safe. But at the end of the day, Matt was just stumbling around, and you let him climb up that scaffolding. That's not that safe at the end of the day. So I don't want to bash them on it, but I don't know if they made the best choice. But we'll leave it at that. Hopefully Matt's okay. Sammy, unfortunately, looked like he got squashed this time. They've had the worst circumstances in this feud, where Matt got beat quickly on television because they were short on time, and then Sammy got beat quickly on pay-per-view because of the circumstance. So. And Irish Green did say that he did say that Aubrey was in WWE for a little bit, but yeah, she's been around for a little while, but still newer, very much newer to the scene, and to have made that decision is awesome. It's good. I'm glad. Like, what a great ref. That's all I could say. Moving on.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida. We got a great video package prior to the match. Then we get a sweet 17-minute match. Hikaru picking up the win after Thunder Rosa looked fantastic this whole match. You have to hope that she gets signed after her performance on the pre-show, because if you guys missed her pre-show performance, she had a great promo. They had a great promo package for her. She delivered in the match. She killed it. I can't say anything. I can't sing Thunder Rosa's praises anymore, because she really delivered and added something to that women's division that they need. And so if they can keep her for any amount of extra time, even if it's not a official thing.
Yeah, because I don't think they can sign her officially, but they could definitely make a deal to use her, right?
I feel like that's why they didn't pull the trigger and give her the victory, because there's that uncertainty of how they could even use her if she's not an official member. Like, you know, you don't want to put the title on somebody who isn't really part of the company.
That's fair.
But it felt like if they had both been signed by the company, this would have been a great moment to do that and have a change in the title scene. But yeah, Thunder Rosa definitely something that the division is lacking in terms of star power, in-ring ability, charisma, all that stuff that you want. and your ideal wrestler.
This was such a great match, like between these two. Like they kept mentioning the style differences, and I thought that was a really cool angle to it. I loved how they both just brought it all that, lack of a better term, all out. But it was really really great. Another one I watched with my cousin, and he's not really familiar with either wrestler, and he loved it. So this is one that I think a lot of people are going to walk away from going, that was one of the better matches of the night.
Stashes said it was the best match. Said that Rosa should be AEW champion or women's champion because it adds a whole new dynamic, and I agree with that too. It would have added a whole new storyline dynamic, a different champion from a champion from a different company, I should say, and a new champion who is very talented after a great match. So I hope again that we see her in AEW. I think that this match super delivered. I saw a ton of people talking about how they either didn't give this one enough time or attention. I think a lot of that had to do with the Matt Hardy situation that had just happened. A lot of people checking social media to see if they could get any news.
I thought that it probably benefited a little bit from that match going short because I don't know if that match gets 17 minutes if the Sammy Hardy match goes 12, 15 minutes like it probably
And it
would.
might have been harder to follow too. It was
Oh yeah,
kind of easy to follow in a sense, but also hard to follow. But if they had just been able to have a great match, it would have been a little bit hard to follow. But I think we would have just been in a great swing of things at that point in the pay-per-view. Instead, it did kind of, again, for probably the first 5 minutes at least, you're still thinking about that Matt and Sammy thing, so it pulled you out a little bit. But again, this was a great match, one of the top 2 matches, I think, on the card. Really, really fun. I think both women shined, and Thunder Rosa is someone who they should try and utilize as much as they can in any ways that they can.
Yes, please.
They follow this up with a pretty weird segment. We have Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. They announce that they're getting married. They say that the wedding's going to be live on Dynamite. But before that, we have to have a bachelor party, and we need to find a best man, so they're going to announce that on Wednesday. At the end of this segment, they poke a little bit of fun at WWE by saying, follow Kip Sabian on Twitch, and then saying that AEW approves this message.
By AEW.
So yeah,
it made me laugh, and you definitely, at first I was like, I don't like the pot shot, but you definitely brought me around on it. I was like, yeah, it's worth the pot shot, fuck them.
Yeah.
And moreover, like you said, he's going to get a ton of Twitch followers, so good for him.
Loved it. It was short, sweet.
What I got from this is that we need a new Jimmy Havoc, and we're getting one on Wednesday.
We don't need a new Jimmy Havoc. Man.
We're getting one.
No, he's not coming back. Give me a break.
He has to
he's
come
not.
back.
They're gonna somehow
bring back that tag.
I don't know.
I'm like the only person who genuinely liked that tag. I don't even remember what they're called. Like
fake
Super
fan.
Bad something.
Super Bad Squad. Bring them back. He's the best man. There's no other logical choice. Who's it gonna be?
That's the thing, is there isn't really another logical choice, so that's where I'm wondering where it'll go, and could be fun.
It's definitely not going to be Jimmy Havoc.
You know how hard I'll pop for that. That would be insane.
I bet you will.
I love this. It was like 2 minutes long. It's everything that's great about wrestling. It's over the top.
It was way better than Penelope's last segment she was in, which was also very short, and these two were both featured in it and kind of all over each other. That one sucked. This one was very simple, very good, and I didn't mind it. So I think.
Yeah, it brings together.
Go ahead.
Classic wrestling thing that there's always a wedding every now and then. There's a wedding angle, and they're gonna apparently drag this on. I don't know what the end game of this is gonna be, but in addition to it being entertaining, it also adds intrigue to a character, Kip Sabian, that nobody cares about. I mean, let's be honest.
Irish Green said it should be AJ's boy, Sean Spears. He said it should be AJ's boy, Sean Spears.
I don't understand it, and that would
he
be
needs
disgusting.
a partner.
No, it shouldn't be.
It's like when you said Trent was going to win the Battle
I didn't
Royal.
say he was going to win. I said it would be an interesting choice.
It would be a good choice. It would be an interesting choice because it would suck.
Okay, we don't have time to go into that at all right now.
What's up with you and Trent?
We don't have time, but I do think that Spears would be an okay partner because he was looking for a partner, and it would be kind of an interesting situation there. But Spears is not someone I'm a fan of, so he's not really anyone I'm looking to do anything.
I think it's going to be a new person because Tony Khan said we're going to have surprises not only on the pay-per-view but on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be
so
Matt Sydal.
it's going to be
Matt Sydal.
someone new.
It might make sense if being Matt Sydal. He's kind of a bro. Kip's kind of a bro. After this, we get the Nightmare Family beating the Dark Order in about 15 minutes. This happens after Colt Cabana tries to tag in. Well, gets tagged in by Mr. Brody. Tries to do his typical situation where he gets tagged in and picks up the victory. But instead of going directly for the pin, he goes for a moonsault, I think. Misses. Gets rolled up and loses by Dustin. Mr. Brody's pissed about this, walks around the ring for a minute before yelling at Colt, even slaps him in the face a little bit. Evil Uno decides to walk him out. I thought this was really, really interesting. I thought this was really fun.
Yeah.
Because of the fact of how deep they're going with the Colt thing. This makes a lot of sense. You have one high-level Colt leader who treats you like shit, and the other one who comes in and plays the nice guy after that.
Yeah, no, you're right. It plays on a lot of levels, and it's going to be interesting to see where Colt Cabana falls during all of this. Like, is this going to make him more indoctrinated? Like, I messed up, now I feel like I owe them something. Like, that kind of Colt logic. Like, it's my fault, I'm the problem, they are helping me. I think that would be really interesting or a good route to go if you're going to really put him in the Dark Order. So in that sense, I understand the Dark Order losing. On another note, I didn't want the Dark Order to lose. No. I wanted Brody to look dominant. I wanted him to beat ass. I wanted him to win. And that didn't happen. However, Brody didn't look bad. That's something I'll say. It was because Colt fucked it up. So it's not like Brody knocked his head off. So it's not like it's making Brody look any worse.
I thought it was an interesting choice. Back when the Dark Order wasn't doing anything, this was like a really entertaining thing that made me think every week, oh, what are they going to do? Now I think it is kind of the right step to drop the Colt thing because the Dark Order is now like doing relevant things with the TV title, and maybe the Uno and Stu Grayson are going to like actually make a push for the tag titles, but I guess maybe not now because FTR is the champions. That kind of mixes things up for them. But yeah, the Colt thing, I'm guessing, will eventually lead to a TV title contest. Mm-hmm. I don't see it being like a super entertaining, like must-see moment.
Between Brody and Colt, you mean?
Yes.
I don't know, man. I understand your thought a little bit and kind of falling back on the Colt thing because as deep as they're going, this is a little bit difficult. Not only to follow, but also to continue creating and make it make sense. But right now, honestly, I like it. I like how in-depth it is of like, this is kind of like watching a TV show of a cult being formed and getting that next step of it, of Colt constantly just being sort of suckered into believing what they have going on. And I again, Mr. Brody smacking him in the face, but Uno comforting him at the end. These things that go the next level of them being a cult. Like, sure, Brody could have just destroyed Colt after the match and beat him down and that been it. But instead, we got like a real layer of storytelling here that I did like. And then obviously the match sets up a match for Dynamite with Dustin Rhodes. He cut a pretty decent promo, actually. I thought it was interesting him cutting such a heavy promo for a roll-up victory. Nonetheless, though, it sets up a TNT title match for Wednesday. I don't expect Dustin to win, but it is a decent victory for Brody. Again, we talk about significant victories on this podcast sometimes. I'm not saying Dustin is a great main eventer, but he has enough wins under his belt, has been treated important enough in AEW that a Brody win over him is going to be good. And Irish Green says they do long-term booking better than anyone, and I agree. This is a part of that, and that's why I like this. This is a real-life, well, not a real-life, but this is a real storyline, a fun storyline, kind of, because I like dark, culty type things, so to get a story like that is really cool. And
it is. I like where they're going with it, and I don't think you're right, Bill. I think Colt is going to go further in the rabbit hole here. Like, I think that's what this is leading to.
That would be an interesting take on it. I don't know if he necessarily is needed now. You've got so many Dark Order people.
Well, there's a lot of people in the Dark Order who aren't really needed.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now that you're establishing
He's the one who kind of helps build a real storyline, and there's a couple different ways they could go with it too. Yeah. And we've seen I'm sure each of us have seen enough cult-like movies or TV shows where they go different directions with it that it can be fun.
And it is funny that it's similar that, he did this to the lesser members of the Dark Order a few weeks ago, and we didn't really care. But he does it to Colt Cabana, and we're sitting here talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
It has some like credence to it. It adds a little bit to it, so I like it.
Absolutely.
After that, and after Dustin's interview, which again I said was pretty decent, we finally get to the match that everyone has been waiting for. FTR fighting Kenny Omega and Hangman for the tag team titles. This match goes nearly a half an hour. FTR picking up the victory. Again, a great match. A lot of great tag team wrestling here. Hangman goes for his finish while Kenny is holding one of the FTR. I don't know either of these guys by name because they're just never have I, dude. Never have I. And
Cash
I don't know.
is the one with the hair. Cash is the one with the hair. That's how I figured it out.
All right,
Let's
Cash
just chalk
has
it up
hair.
as such a cohesive unit that you don't even need to know them as individuals.
That's kind of a fair point. But then FTR picks up the victory after Hangman goes for his finish. Kenny and the FTR member duck, and I can't even explain it. It was a decent finish. People were kind of complaining about the finish. The match itself was good. What did you guys think?
I loved it. I thought this was a fantastic match. I thought the finish was good too. I thought everything about it was good. The only thing I would have liked is if Kenny hit him with the table.
Yeah, I think when we got this match, we were expecting the big explosive payoff that we've been building towards. We didn't really get that. I felt like, good match, obviously. Good storytelling afterwards. But I think that's what held it back from being like a very great segment. Was that moment where, a year from now
whether
you could be
Hangman
like,
hit him or Kenny hit him, it doesn't matter. If something happened, it would have been way better.
I just don't understand if he is going to do the turn, why he didn't just do it there.
Yeah.
With all eyes on the product.
Kenny?
And why do we have to have him? Yeah, why does Kenny have to storm out?
He thought about it.
say
He
he's
wanted
done?
to. But I think that at the end of the day, he realizes that Hangman didn't do it to him either, and he still just doesn't know what Hangman's deal is, and that's why he's done with it. He's like, all right, we lost the titles. I don't have to worry about this anymore, even though that's a lie. He's still going to worry about it. But it is kind of interesting, kind of compelling. I do kind of agree with you guys. I wish something would have happened at this point because we have been waiting a long time. But I don't mind them pushing it out and them not just being buddy-buddy because we had talked about, well, what if they win and they do keep things going and Hangman is a good guy? Well, Hangman still is kind of a good guy. And this so far isn't bad.
Not only is he kind of a good guy, he's also now completely alone. He has no FTR, he has no Kenny, he has no Young Bucks, and he has none of the Elite. He's all by himself. He's a complete loner now. There's nobody to help him. There's nothing he can fall back on. That's what's interesting here. That's the takeaway here is that Hangman is completely alone. What is he going to do? And he's not really a bad guy, and he's not really a good guy, whereas Kenny is kind of teetering on, and so are the Young Bucks on being bad guys, because Kenny was ready to fucking smack him with the table. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this. So like you said, I don't mind it. I'm just saying I would have liked it if there was a big explosion. But
Maybe on Dynamite.
I'm in it for the spectacle, brother.
Maybe on Dynamite.
Do you guys think that we will see a rematch between these two teams?
I don't know.
I don't.
I really don't know.
I don't really see Kenny and Hangman teaming again. I think that Kenny has laid that to rest when he let Hangman fall.
Yeah, I'm done. He said I'm done.
When he let him fall, he didn't hit him, but he still let him fall. He walked away.
Disrespect.
He's done and didn't help his buddy up, and I thought that was really interesting.
And he even gave the Young Bucks an ultimatum, like, come with me or else. Like not or else, about, like, are you with me? That's what he said to them. Are you with me? Think about it. And then he left. So this is going in a lot of crazy directions. I don't know what's going to happen.
Stashes says should have hit him with the TV tray for wearing pants. I did think his attire choice was kind of interesting. I was trying to find something of that, like, because we've heard it before with wrestlers wearing specific attire to kind of correlate with what's going on. I was trying to figure it out, like, is this his turning attire? And instead he just loses. So apparently it didn't really mean anything.
It's his losing attire.
Apparently. So, but again, I like the build. This is continuing to go somewhere very interesting, and the fact that it's long-term storytelling and has been going on essentially since the beginning of this company, it's only made Hangman a bigger star, into a legitimate star, and it's only going to get better, and we're only going to eventually end up with a Kenny Hangman singles match that is going to rival some of the best singles matches we'll hopefully see either this year or next year, whichever year the match ends up being in. So at that point, I think that that's one thing we definitely have to be excited for.
Yeah, think about how much he's been elevated since this whole thing started. Remember when he fought Chris Jericho for the inaugural world title match, and
we thought him losing. We thought him losing would be the end. Like he couldn't really overcome that, and instead he won. He ended up becoming a tag team champion down the line, and that was sort of the biggest deal for him.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how like a tag team title run did more for him than his originals run with the world championship?
Just randomly being paired with Kenny too, and we kind of hated it at first, and it did wonders for him. So that's why I have so much faith in AEW.
And not only that, it's been the best part of the show. Like that's what you watch for. Like that's what you're tuning in for. Like not Moxley really. It's Hangman and then Kenny.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of times Hangman has had the best segments on the shows, especially pre-pandemic. So it's great to see just them continue to do such a great story with this. And, again, so much wonderful things with Hangman. I'm very surprised. But, again, it's come together so well. After this, we get Jericho. He's backstage talking about Jericho versus Cassidy, how it's been going on for the last 14 weeks. It wasn't a program, a storyline. It was an experiment to see if Jericho could make Cassidy into a main event draw. And after 14 weeks, he can tell you that Orange is a legit main event draw. And tonight, the experiment ends. We then get Orange Cassidy defeating Jericho in 15 minutes. So obviously, the experiment is not over. This was a pretty fun Mimosa Mayhem match. I thought that it did a good job at sort of following a great tag team match, but still not sucking all the energy out of the crowd prior to the main event. That was also very important. And it was kind of a match I, throughout the card, had almost forgotten about. But when I remembered it, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm glad this is happening. And it turned out to be pretty fun. Orange Cassidy winning with not one, but two Superman or orange punches, they call them, dumping Jericho into their vat of orange punch and giving him the victory without having to pin Jericho. So that's a little bit notable. But, hey, Orange Cassidy picks up a victory. It looks like Jericho's going on to a different storyline himself. So who knows what happens with Orange Cassidy, but they close this one off well.
Yeah, I hate to nitpick, but you said something earlier in the show about being afraid to beat people. And as soon as I heard that part of this whole thing was you could win by throwing your opponent in a vat of mimosa, I felt, well, this is how the match is going to end. Like, I would have rather, if you're going to try and elevate Orange Cassidy to that level, just beating Jericho clean. Like, yes, he beat Jericho clean last time they fought, but nobody's going to call that match a classic. Nobody's going to think back on that finish as anything other than ugly.
I mean, I don't know. I guess you could have somebody win and then throw him in the mimosa anyways. So there is that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to happen.
No, that's awful. That's a horrible gimmick. I hate when they do that in wrestling. And that's such a WCW way to do it.
Oh, you know,
I like this match.
I did too.
I'm not agreeing with Phil.
Agree with Phil.
I'm just saying I like this
match. Phil is being negative Nancy.
When they set up a stipulation and then they ignore the stipulation.
What do you mean?
What you were saying about, maybe I got it mixed up, about having the throw somebody in there and then you do it after somebody's won.
Sometimes they just do, like, the match type is after you lose you have to be thrown in or some shit, and I don't love that. So I thought that this was okay. I thought they did this all right. So I don't know. I don't see the issue you have with it as much, Phil, because I do understand them having Orange Cassidy win in this way. It's not super significant, but Jericho, it's a way for Jericho to afford to take a loss to someone that he might not need to lose to. And the thing is, it looks like he's going to have a feud with Sonny Kiss going forward, and you would want him to let Sonny Kiss get a victory in that one. So if he's going to be putting over another lower-name superstar trying to get someone over to that next level, then, in my opinion, this is a fine way to do it, because Jericho shouldn't take too many clean losses, you know?
I don't think it's Sonny Kiss per se. I actually think it's Joey Janela. He beat up Janela.
Well, he did like an interview with Sonny on his podcast or something, and I think, or maybe not with Sonny, but had mentioned Sonny on a podcast and said that he really wanted to work with him. So I think that it's leading the way for it to be Sonny versus Chris. Joey's just the piece to that sort of connects it together.
I would rather see I'd rather see the Joey.
I disagree.
Feud
I disagree. I think there's so much
like...
more to Sonny Kiss that we get to see now. I think over the last 2 weeks, the more aggressive side of
I'm
Sonny.
not saying Sonny Kiss is bad
You're
or
just
anything.
Joey
I'm
Mark.
just saying I like Joey
That's
Janela
fair.
more.
Because I like Joey.
I've honestly lost my
think,
luster for Joey to an extent because of his just booking in AEW, and it's not horrible, but I do think again, just Sonny is something new and fresh to me. That the aggressive side, the more seriousness that they're giving to his character, I enjoy this. So and a feud with Jericho is just going to continue expanding upon that. After that match, they announced Full Gear, which is going to be on Saturday, November 7th. Super excited for that. That is only 2 months away. That makes me quite happy, honestly. Most of the times we're waiting about 4 months out. So that actually makes a lot more sense that we got sort of the formation of new storylines on this show and not really the ending of other storylines, because we don't have to wait 4 months to start closing stuff out like we did this time. So really excited for that. They then announced what we have lined up for Dynamite. Brody defending the title against Dustin. Kip Sabian announcing his best man. And the champion speaks. And something funny I want to mention. Where was it? Who said it? Stashes said... No. Stashes said they're going to change Chris Sabin's name to Chris Sabian. And he's going to be Kip Sabian's best man / brother. So I dig it. And that was around the time our boy Ed Mel said Sean Spears, yikes. So... Gotta shout out Ed Mel.
Yeah, Sean Spears, yikes.
Gotta shout out Ed Mel. So it's an interesting setup for Dynamite. It was funny. This is the Excalibur point I think you're talking about, is that Excalibur said the new champion would speak, so Joseph had assumed Max was going to win.
He said the new champion and then immediately followed up with or the retaining champion. So I don't know why they were going off on that, but
because it's Joseph.
Big Joseph.
Our boy. So a decent enough Dynamite. I think obviously they couldn't flesh it out too much, but they did also mention kind of a certain level of excitement for this Dynamite that we're going into. So I do hope that we get that.
I mean, I was a little disappointed because they were like, there's Blockbuster Dynamite that's coming up, and then they announced something they already announced. Kip Sabian's announcement, and the champion will cut a promo.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. If they're going to say it, I do expect a really good match card to come. So we'll see in the coming days, but who knows? Then we get a good Moxley versus MJF video package leading into the match. The match itself goes about 23 minutes, almost 24, with Mox picking up the victory. MJF getting blood in this one. At the end, Wardlow goes to toss MJF the ring. MJF doesn't catch it. He goes to pick it up while the referee is distracted with Wardlow. Mox notices Max picking up the ring. He also notices the referee is distracted, so he utilizes this opportunity to hit the paradigm shift, drops Max, pick up the 1, 2, 3. An interesting way to finish the match, able to use Moxley's finish, potentially go back to Mox versus MJF down the line, and obviously start the MJF Wardlow separation that is going to become, and Phil, you mentioned we don't have a lot of strong faces. Wardlow is about to be that. Whether he's ready or not, we're going to find out. But it looks very apparent to me that sooner than later, Wardlow versus Max, I should say, is going to be a feud on the table.
Yeah. I would say out of all of the Mox defenses, or even title matches maybe, this is my favorite one. I really like this. I thought they did a great job. I thought they were killing each other. I really liked the fact that they were keeping in the ring a lot, and you got to see Mox really work instead of just going around the arena and hitting people with things. Because like they were talking about that a lot leading up to this match, but that really is something I don't like about Mox title matches, is that he just runs out of the ring for however long he wants and does whatever the fuck he wants, and the referees don't do anything about it. And so it was cool to see that only happened a little bit, and it was mostly in the ring. And MJF getting color he was that blade job, man. Oh my god. Yeah. It was all over Mox too. It was crazy. And then Mox bit him, and then it was on his cheek. And it was
Kira
like,
did
oh
not
my
like
god.
that. She did not like that at all. She was disgusted by it.
It was crazy. I loved it. It was insane. And I thought this was a really fantastic match. They did a lot of psychology here. They were working the arm, and I liked how Mox was like trying to pop it back into place with the turnbuckle. I thought they really did a great job all around with this one. I hope we see MJF and Mox again sometime. I don't know if we will, but if they do decide to go that route, great.
Yeah, really liked it. A little surprised that they're breaking up, or it seems like they're breaking up MJF and Wardlow already, but it's for the best for Wardlow. That's somebody who I think is like week after week, I believe is like an unutilized character. I mean, what, he's wrestled like 4 times and 3 times or 2
And
times.
hopefully that's just been to continue the training,
maybe.
you know what I mean? He was obviously a little green coming into the company. This is an opportunity to not really showcase any of that and allow him to just build off television, you would assume. But yeah, I agree. It is. I'm almost a little surprised that they're splitting them right now because of more so for MJF's sake. I think he needs that big guy. Maybe he's gonna bring in a new one. Maybe like he very well could, but. And dude, that would kind of make sense. He could easily say, you know, I saw this guy earlier in the night who had a great showing, and then you just totally blew it for me, and boom. Like, there are ways you could do it, and I do just think that he needs a big guy with him, so hopefully they replace Wardlow with someone else rather than just do the turn, because I think, I don't know how I feel about him solo, but he did do a great job in this match. We talk about it sometimes where we expect either Moxley or sometimes Cody to really make their opponent look really good in their matchup, and sometimes they don't. This was, I'm not saying it was all Mox either, but this was just a good match. MJF looked like, maybe not like he belonged, maybe not like it was his night, but it's a stepping stone to his night, a showcase that he can have a good match, and the beginning of his opportunity to not just be thrust into a championship reign because he's a team, but thrust into like he's working his way to it, and he's going to be taken more seriously when he does win. So I do like the booking in that. I liked the finish. I think a lot of people really like. I don't want to say a lot of people, but I think people liked the finish because it was a smart way to do it, and it sets up a good feud down the line. And for a lot of people, their guy won. Moxley is a fan favorite, and he makes sense as a champion.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of storylines that you can do with Moxley as the champion. So,
yeah, I doubt that. I feel like he's gonna beat Jericho's reign before he drops the title, at least. And I feel like honestly, he might be champion for a long ass time. He's a draw. He's a good guy to have the title on. It's good for the company. Fans love him. There's not a lot of downsides to him being champion. I know we're a little bored of it, but that's us, and we're the minority, and I can accept that.
oh yeah.
Yep.
But overall, what do you guys think? You think it was a good show, great show, bad show, average show?
Thumbs up for me. Thumbs up for me. I thought it was a good show. Especially in the COVID era. Like, I thought this was really as good as a show as you're going to get.
Yeah. Didn't blow my mind, but it was good. I do want to talk about 2 things real quick before we wrap it up that we didn't mention. During the Battle Royal, we did not mention at all Darby Allin getting thrown into thumbtack body bag. Maybe getting actually injured again because he's, just...
He's insane.
Idiot, I guess. So I guess that really speaks to maybe we're being dulled to him doing crazy things, but we didn't even talk about it.
You're right.
It's a point where like we might have thought he was actually hurt, and we didn't even care enough to talk about it.
You have a point. We might be getting desensitized to Darby.
Oh, I think he might have actually been injured in that spot too. I saw a couple of people talk about it.
And again, makes it even worse that we didn't even talk about it.
For me personally, I was doing a lot of like making GIFs and stuff and posting them to Twitter like I usually do, and that was a moment that I kind of like didn't see. Like I missed it, and I was mad because I missed it on the stream I was watching, and then I have a stream that's slower that I watch for the GIFs that I also missed it on. So I was like, what the fuck? And I knew something crazy happened. I just missed it both times. So that's probably why I didn't bring it up. Darby.
Do you know what happened?
Yeah, I know he was in the body bag and got like launched by Cage, right?
Powerbombed like onto the stairs almost. I think
it was on the stage.
Yeah, with tacks and stuff. So it was that you're right. We kind of are desensitized to the shit that Darby does, and there was just a lot going on in that battle royal. That the botch, Will Hobbs doing great. We kind of focused on most of the good stuff. I mean, the botch isn't a good thing, but it was mostly good. What else did we miss?
Yeah. Second thing. Jim Ross.
Man,
it was not watching this with people who don't usually watch AEW, and they're like, "Wow, Jim Ross is kind of off tonight." It's like, no, this is just Jim Ross now. This is Jim Ross in 2020.
Yeah, it's good and bad.
Stupid, horny comment about Anna Jay wishing for a
Oh,
wardrobe
yeah.
malfunction is almost as horrible as his cringy old man perverted tweets.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It is. Don't meet your heroes, folks. Because I never wanted to see this side of JR.
It is weird to
Oh,
see
you're
him be the king. Is essentially how I feel of it.
Yeah.
And it's almost
Right.
like he's like, well, Jerry the King Lawler did this for 10 years and it was totally funny and cool. Why can't I get away with it? It's because you're not the creepy old grandpa for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
or we didn't know.
Nobody wants to think of Jim Ross as perverted.
Nobody wants to picture Jim Ross's erection. Like nobody wants to think of his sexual thoughts and desires.
Not that anybody wanted that with Jerry Lawler, but Jerry Lawler was a heel.
And
so
Jerry Lawler was kind of like, he is kind of a scum in real life. He's kind of a sleazy guy, but
remember when he kissed that girl
Most-
forcefully?
okay.
Oh my God. All right, guys.
But mostly the King thing is a character. With Jim Ross, it feels like it's
I think
real
the
life.
King thing might feel weird now too. In knowing some of the shit we know.
It's super funny. It was super funny to see him on Twitter apologize immediately. It's almost like somebody was in his
Excalibur
ear,
was
like
definitely
he
like, yo.
apologized.
But, Irish
was
Green
not an
wants us to
apology.
point out the fact that Rebel was one of the best parts in the Swole versus Baker match. She had some really funny moments. So. Stashes says they wanted he wanted them to ditch Ross on commentary since AEW started. I kind of agree. We've all kind of had our moments throughout AEW, and to an extent I've almost desensitized myself to JR where I just don't really listen as much. The Anna J thing caught me the second he said it though. I was like, what the fuck, JR? Like, what are you saying?
What is he talking about?
And it was just so crazy. So
I actually thought she did.
Like, I don't even want JR out of the company. He can be fine backstage.
Yeah,
I'm
he's a
sure
good
he does a great
even
job.
on like big,
But
bring him out for big
not on
matches to do
commentary.
commentary because then it adds another level to the big match. You know what I mean? So
I kind of hate how we like kiss his ass too. Every time we have a big show, we gotta show JR's entrance.
fair enough.
Oh yeah.
Like
You're
and I said this a
you're
few weeks
extra
ago,
anti
he's, like,
JR.
being- No, dude. There was this about a few weeks ago. He was just being insufferable
Exactly.
about the tags. Who's the legal
But
man? The
listen how
referee's so
you've been about
stupid.
him being about the tag. Like, do you think he remembers that? No, but you do. 2 weeks later, you're complaining about his complaining. So look at you. I do want to mention our results from the poll. Basically, they kind of agree with us. 44% said that it was good. 19% said it was great. 24% called it average, and 10% called it bad. So you know where the WWE fan base is voting from.
I'd like to know what the bad people thought was so bad about it. Like not even just like snarky. I just want to know like what offended.
I think
them
a
so
lot
much.
of it probably had to do with the Matt Hardy thing. Someone commented and said, Ian is on Twitter
man.
at some random smark said first hour was an absolute mess. AEW should be ashamed for allowing Matt to continue, but they reeled it in at Sheeta versus Rosa, and the rest of the show was great. So we don't there's not really a whole lot of bad comments on this tweet confirming why it was bad, but that's the worst one. So I think overall everyone kind of agrees that it was good. I also want to mention we did a contest at the beginning of the day about retweeting, and we would send out a package of Young Bucks Funko Pops, which I will be doing tomorrow, or maybe not tomorrow, whenever I can get the address to our guy at Boss BSFR81. I will go ahead and send you a tweet here in a little bit, but thank you guys for retweeting. We
Congratulations.
appreciate that. We're going to get that sent out pretty quick to our guy.
Congratulations.
Like I said, we appreciate everyone for retweeting, being a part of that. We're going to continue to do that before pay-per-views and stuff like that. We also appreciate everyone chatting with us during the podcast today. Irish Green, Stashes, Edmel, everyone else. It's a lot of fun able to get that interaction and be able to talk with everyone during the show. It's been a fun show.
Absolutely.
It was a good pay-per-view.
Yep.
We're gonna be back on Thursday to talk about to talk about Dynamite, which will happen on Wednesday. And from there, we might take a little break the following week, but we'll let you know for sure on Thursday.
Oh
Yeah, Phil, I haven't mentioned that one to you, but we might. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna have everyone plug their social media. AJ, where can they find you, even though it's on the screen if they're already watching?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ. It's not on the screen, though, that you can follow me on Instagram at AJ the Fitzy.
Where can they find you, Phil?
You can find me on Twitter at Philip with 2 L's, DIMINNO. Philip
If
Domino.
you're a new
DIMINNO.
viewer, Phil absolutely hates plugging his social media. So if you're not following him,
At
make
least I
sure
did
you
it this
follow
time.
him. Send him a tweet. Let him know that you followed him because he just hates doing it. It's so much fun for us though. You can follow me on Twitter at All Elite Andy. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at All Elite Podcast if you're not already. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/All Elite Pod, on Instagram at All Elite Everything, and YouTube at youtube.com/All Elite Podcast. If you're watching us there, make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, and
Yes,
Twitch.
and Twitch at you. I don't know if we have an official Twitch name, but we are on Twitch. We play video games immediately after Dynamite and talk about Dynamite, and then on the following Thursday we talk about AEW at length on the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in with us.
We'll see you next